Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ryan Pack.
And I'm Nicole Barlow.
And this is Soundtrack Your Life, where we speak with a guest about a soundtrack that is important to them. Today, our guest is Chrstian, the bassist and lead singer of The Ritualists. Welcome, Chrstian.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So The Ritualists just released the new album, Too Pure to Cure, back in April. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your band?
Great. Well, we've been described as gothic art rock. It's rock and roll. Essentially, we're based out of New York City, which is where I am right now, as you could probably hear. And this is our third record. It's been released on Suite 484. We have it on vinyl, and it's on streaming services pretty much everywhere. The prior two records, the first record, Pain to People, is out on Out of Line, and Baroque and Bleeding, which is our second, came out on Suite 484 as well. And we've just been touring, and we have a few videos out in support of the record as well.
Yeah, and so the album was produced by Mario McNulty, who has worked with a lot of great people, including David Bowie, Philip Glass, Rufus Wainwright, who Nicole loves. And, he's done work with Chromeo, Fall Out Boy. He is a big deal. And he, I think, has really captured the energy of your band on the record. All the instruments come out really clear. The vocals are great. So I'm a fan of the album. I was talking to Nicole before this. I was saying, today in California, there's a festival called Cruel World happening. And I was like, why are the Ritualists not playing that today? Because I feel like they would be perfect on this bill.
Why are you not on the bill? Because it makes so much sense.
I'm asking the same questions myself. We would love to be on there sometime. I think it's a matter of, the festival, from what I've seen, is it's predominantly acts that are sort of from the 80s, but I think they are trying to open it up to more new blood, and as they do that, I'd like to believe that they will be including us, because those are all of our heroes that are playing on there, and we'd be honored to share the stage with them.
Yeah, I was looking, my sister's going today, so I have a special interest in the lineup this year, and I was like, man, like the Ritualists and then Garbage and then Nick Cave, like that would be a great, ramp
and
up.
Simple Minds are on that bill as well, I think, which is really cool.
And it's being headlined by New Order, who obviously everybody loves.
Sweet, yeah.
Legendary. It's really funny. It feels like there's an unofficial kind of like new wave pregame happening in Southern California this weekend. Everyone's got like their Cure shirts on. Like it's very cool. So
it's very cool. We love that stuff, and we're trying to sort of do an updated sort of take on it. We're not just, we don't want to be like a retro band, but at the same time, I'm not going to shy away from someone who tells me that we sound like Echo and the Bunnymen, because I take that as a great compliment. So
Right. Yeah, and I love how the album starts. It just kind of grabs you from the first notes, and you just
thank you.
You just go on for the ride for the rest of the album, and and that's what's really hard to do these days, is to capture people's attention.
I appreciate that, and you mentioned Mario McNulty, and I appreciate that. Mario actually became aware of us from the prior record, Baroque and Bleeding. A colleague of his who had worked with Bowie just used that song, Baroque and Bleeding, in her Instagram story while she was getting ready to go out. Like, she was doing her makeup and the song was playing in the background. He got into a conversation with her about us from the music, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, are you looking to do a new record?" And I was like, I looked up his credentials and his background. I was like, wow, this would be perfect. And it was our first non-COVID record. So we were all, for the first time, able to record in the same room together. So this is the first time you actually hear the Ritualists sort of live, you know. I mean, I know it's produced and all that, but we're all in the same room kind of playing those songs together, whereas the prior records were put together piece by piece.
Yeah, and that's why this album has great energy. Not that the other ones don't, but I think you really feel it in your
Well,
headphones.
I'm glad you caught that. I'd like to believe that as well.
It's a perfect album to drive to listen to in your car, like really loud with the windows down. Great for summer, I think.
Sure, yeah, do it.
Your last album, Broken Bleeding, that was produced by Ed Buller, who did a bunch of albums by Suede, and he did His and Hers by Pulp, which is one of my favorite albums.
Mine as well.
One of the best
So
albums.
we actually reached out with our label to Ed because we were such huge fans of Suede and Pulp, and I thought he would just be the perfect guy to get involved, and we were so honored that he agreed to join the party for that record, and he co-produced and mixed the whole thing, and he really he put his own spin on it, on the band, and I think you could hear that Ed Buller kind of sheen. There's this way that he mixes and EQs vocals that I really dig, and I was like, oh, I want to hear what we would sound like with Ed, doing his Ed thing, and it was really an honor and really exciting to have worked with him. I was happy with the way that record came out. Unfortunately, it got really squashed under the COVID stuff. So, but it led to us, getting together with Mario. So it kind of worked out in the end.
Yeah, and obviously when you're working with people like Ed Buller and Mario McNulty, you have to pay attention. Like, these people don't want to work with just anybody.
I'd like to believe that, yeah.
I'm really excited about the soundtrack that you've brought to us today. Today we are going to talk about the soundtrack to the Mike Hodge 1980 film Flash Gordon. So why did you pick Flash Gordon for us today?
Well, to be honest with you, I've always loved the Flash Gordon soundtrack, and I actually liked the soundtrack sort of before I became a Queen fanatic, which I now am. But even before that, I'd always had a thing for Flash, for that movie in particular, and the soundtrack. I'm a huge sci-fi nerd and a huge comic book nerd, and I kind of discovered this movie. I didn't see it when it first came out or anything like that, but it was sort of passed on to me by people who thought I would dig it, and I watched it on DVD, and I was just like blown away by the visuals. Every shot in the film looks like a painting or a really, really psychedelic comic book panel. And then you've got this incredible soundtrack from Queen. I mean, that main track, that lead track, I mean, that's right up there in terms of like anthemic, like We Will Rock You, that Flash theme.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of things. You've got glam rock, you've got sci-fi, and you have Queen. And I think they're even using synths on it, which is very rare for Queen.
Right.
Which is kind of a wild, it's just like a wild combination of things. So that's why I picked it.
Yep, so Queen is the big headliner of this soundtrack. This is the first film music that they did. They also would then go on to do The Highlander with Michael Kamen. But, the director, Mike Hodge, wanted to work with them. Producer Dino De Laurentiis, who kind of had the rights to the film, he doesn't listen to rock and roll, so he was like, who are the Queens?
Who are the Queens?
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
And originally, Dino had wanted this to be a kind of serious film, and he had originally pitched it to Fellini in the 70s. Nicholas Roeg became attached to it for a while and wanted a much more like erotic, crazy version than the version that we have now. So it went through all this change of hands, but Dino De Laurentiis really wanted it to be kind of a serious film with cultural impact, where the director was like, no, I'm pretty sure this is just camp. It's just really, really high camp. And so while Dino wanted Pink Floyd, the director wanted Queen. And I think it's such an inspired choice for such a weird and amazing film that I had never seen before this conversation.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on you've watched it for the first time
Yes,
Yeah,
recently?
both of us actually.
both of
Both
us
of us.
watched it for
Oh,
the
both
first
of you.
time.
Okay.
And
So what are
I
you?
was aware of it from the soundtrack because the soundtrack, I collect records, and the soundtrack is kind of this thing that crosses, when you're picking through vinyl, it's there all the time. I think the soundtrack maybe has a life beyond the film. It was really big in the UK. Apparently, it released at Christmas, and it's kind of like a Christmas thing in the UK. Like, it released at Christmas, and then the next year it went to TV at Christmas, so it's some kind of
Oh,
tradition.
wow. Okay.
I don't know, Brits that listen maybe confirm or deny that that's true. But watching this was a wild experience. It's like one of those movies that you wanna throw on at a bar, like at a really good bar, because the visuals are so crazy. Like you pointed out, it's got this very, like, specific aesthetic where parts of it feel like an Italian horror film, like, parts of it feel like a Dario
Absolutely.
Argento kinda like, it's creepy. Parts of it feel like the costume designer just went for it and said, "Let's make 57 Princess Leia's in the gold bikini."
Yep.
It's a wild film. It's hilarious. It's wild. Like, so much of it is, like, laugh out loud funny. The
Yeah.
football scene, like, realizing that Flash Gordon actually doesn't have superpowers, which I did not know. He's just, like, a guy who's really
He's a
The
good.
quarterback.
New York
Yeah,
Jets.
yeah, he's a quarterback for the New York Jets, so his superpower is football, and there's a whole
Right.
scene where he just kind of, like, outwits everyone with football prowess in space.
Right,
Great.
right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great take. And I think what's cool is they didn't take themselves too seriously, and they didn't go for hyper realism.
No.
And I
Right.
think when you look at the year, I think it came out in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, when I went back to this movie and I saw when it was released, I assumed it was going to be like Star Wars. Okay. And I like that it's like a completely different thing from Star Wars. They weren't trying to be Star Wars. Star Wars might have been the reason they were given any kind of budget, because at the time, I guess sci-fi was hot because of Star
Right.
Wars. But it's this, they create like their own colorful, like unique, and it's very European. The whole thing has a very European vibe, like the style and everything. Of course, Ornella Muti is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. Princess
Yeah.
Aura, like
Yeah.
she's incredible. So the whole thing is just a very other vibe to me,
Yeah.
which is kind of why I'm drawn to it. Like the whole thing is alien. It's like you're looking into a time capsule from not another time period in our history, but just like an alternate reality. It's very, very interesting to me visually.
To me, it feels very right from the panel and to the screen in the way that it's art directed. They really sent it when it comes to comic book camp. And as a comic fan, I was wondering if that's something that resonated with you, or if you were familiar with Flash Gordon. I know a lot of people were familiar with it, I think, at that time, and felt kind of a, emotion around seeing it brought to life.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I was familiar with Flash Gordon. He's often regarded as sort of like the first comic book hero. I think he might even predate Superman.
Yes.
And those Flash Gordon comics were known for being particularly ornate. The artwork was almost a bit more mature than the regular superhero fare that kind of came after it. And I think the film reflects that. But I think in the original comics, interestingly enough, Flash was a scientist. So he was like a brilliant man of science. So they updated him, I guess, in the late 70s, early 80s to be a football star.
Right.
Take
Why
from
not?
that what you will, where our values have changed, I guess, from the 30s. What we see as having been heroic or whatever. But it works. And I think the whole movie works, even the ridiculous dialogue and the craziness, like Max von Sydow as Ming the Merciless is he's really sinister, and he does his, he's like a Shakespearean British actor, and the whole thing is wild. And I do think it does reflect the comical panels. I think it's true to the comics for the most part.
Yeah, so I think the screenwriter is a really important part of this film that maybe doesn't get enough credit. Lorenzo Semple Jr., I believe is his name. So he is known for the Batman TV show with Adam West. He wrote I think the
Okay,
first
that
4
makes sense.
episodes of that. And he
Campy,
did,
yeah.
yeah, the campy movie as well. And so I think you see a lot of that, and with the, especially I think with the comedic timing of things, the campiness. I think even like that football fight scene feels very out of like the Batman TV show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't know that there was that connection. That's so interesting. How about the Hawkmen though, the Hawk people?
Oh
Voltan?
yeah, the
I
Voltan,
mean,
the Prince Voltan guy. He really steals that movie for me.
he's
He
out of
really does.
control. Yeah,
Dive.
that's one of the best tunes on the soundtrack, I think. When they're attacking, that's a great. It's like the Hawkmen battle theme or something. It's so
Right.
good.
Right. And so Queen, who took this assignment very seriously, right? I think Brian May might take everything very seriously, but they postponed a Greatest Hits release so that they could spend a year working on this, dedicated to this, doing something that a rock band maybe hadn't really quite done in this way before, and working with synths for the first time. And Battle theme and the Flash theme and the Hero all ended up being incorporated, I guess, into their set when they were touring for the game, their next album that they released. So this is also kind of part, I guess, of like Queen fan culture, Queen lore. Freddie Mercury designed the Flash logo that shows up on that album artwork because he had like graphic design skills. I think.
Oh, very cool.
So it's really like a big part of Queen fandom as well. This album, people really celebrate it.
Yeah. I actually have a Flash Queen shirt. I should have
Nice.
worn that for the
awesome.
interview today.
Not under the cool shirt you have on right
Yeah,
now.
Yeah, we thought you were just gonna.
Corner out button, like reveal it.
Shocker.
Shocker.
So you think, from the way the music sounds, do you think they took it very seriously in
Oh,
terms of like?
absolutely.
Absolutely. And when you hear Brian May talk about it, and in research for this, I found some clips of Brian May actually talking about it, and it is deadly serious. Even though
Wow.
you would think somebody that made, a wedding theme in space where he's just absolutely going crazy on guitar
That's
is like
great. Yeah.
having the time of his life. I think maybe that's true. And drugs were probably involved like heavily at a lot of points. But like, I think they also took it very seriously as an assignment to the extent that they really delayed other projects that they had going on so that they could lean all the way into this. There was money attached to this film. It was very expensive to make.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the songs are great. I think they're really unique. And I think while they maintain their signature Queen vibe, like you can't not know this is Queen when you hear the music. I think it's cool sometimes that as an artist to get an assignment, like you're writing for a purpose other than just, I want to write a good song, or I want to write a cool love song, or I broke up with my girlfriend, I'm sad, I want to write a song. It's sometimes fun when someone gives you a script or a concept or even a painting, like this is Flash Gordon, write songs about something that looks like this or whatever. I think that's great for artistic inspiration, and I think you get that from the soundtrack, that they were definitely inspired. And I've seen interviews where Queen have admitted that they are nerds themselves, so like this plays into that. They weren't lying when they said that.
Yeah, isn't Brian May also an astrophysicist or something like that?
Absolutely, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you can consider this movie a space opera, and I think the music fits what you would call a space opera.
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening, if you'd like a rock band to do your sci-fi soundtrack for your next movie, the Ritualists are available and would love to do it. That would be a dream for me.
I mean, Hollywood loves to reboot something. Right now, it sounds like the director Taika Waititi has the rights to this and is in development with a Flash reboot. So if anyone there is listening, you want to be a part of that, Chrstian.
That would be great. Yeah, he did great stuff with I think he did the Thor movies, right?
He did
Yeah.
Ragnarok. Yeah, Ragnarok is his. So I can see how there is a connection. And I think because it is such a camp classic, there's a lot of people, a lot of artists who, see this as a great project to reinterpret, reinvent. Ryan was saying they should just do a shot-for-shot remake.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I don't know, though.
Why mess with what works?
I mess with perfection.
Okay, sure.
Hey, this is Chess from The Wandering Hearts, and this is Our House. From our new album, Deja Vu, We Have All Been Here Before.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the heart.
It's all the classics you know, including Teach Your Children,
Teach your children well. Their father's hell did slowly go by.
and Carry On.
Rejoice, rejoice, we have no choice but to carry on.
Be sure to check out Deja Vu by the Wandering Hearts wherever you stream your music.
Maybe it would, but I also think it's fun that, and I don't know if there's enough of this, but like, I love Blade Runner as a sci-fi movie. It's one of my top films of all time, but I think there's room in the world for Blade Runner films as well as Flash Gordon type sci-fi films. So it's kind of cool to see both sides, but in both instances, the art direction and the design work is, to my eyes, I mean, and I'm not an expert on this, but I mean, they're beautiful. Both of them are beautiful in their own right. Both movies.
Yeah, I just don't want Flash Gordon to be like drenched in CGI.
Absolutely not. Like those backgrounds in the original, they're like actual paintings. You know, like you'll never get that with CGI, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think they could.
There's something kind of winningly ramshackle and sort of pasted together about all old sci-fi. This movie also reminds me a lot of like Barbarella. It has a very just like, I don't know why it has to be like so erotic, but it is. And there's something like very, as you said, very Italian about it.
Also
It's
produced by Dino.
Right, because it's produced by Dino, right? So there's all this really weird like clash of cultures and tones thing that happens that people have described as a winning combo of macho and kitsch. And I think that's what Queen sort of is too, like a winning combo of something macho and also something really kitsch.
Macho and kid. Okay.
I'm just sad that Queen doesn't cameo. I think that's really my only complaint.
Yeah, you'd think they would have been smart enough. They have like the biggest rock stars in the world doing their soundtrack. Throw them in a scene, you know.
Right?
Let Brian May play the wedding march on the guitar at the wedding.
Oh yeah, that would have been amazing.
Like how epic would that have been? Like such a missed opportunity that they are not in this film because I was waiting for it. Having never seen it before, I'm waiting for the Queen cameo. Like they got to be here. They're obviously here.
Right.
They never came out.
That's puzzling that they weren't, and a huge misstep. So I agree with you on that one for sure.
Well, it's like another 1980 film, Xanadu. Why isn't ELO in that movie?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a thing. I mean, 1980s films have some great soundtracks and great people involved all around.
It's very similar to Xanadu also for those that maybe haven't watched Flash Gordon. There's elements of it, that kind of art deco-ness that also sort of show up in this movie and in this movie's art direction. There's, the Olivia Newton-John songs are to Xanadu as Queen is to this kind of. So there's similarities there and it really goes for it. And even when it doesn't work, it kind of works because it's so other, like you said, it's so singular and a thing unto itself.
Right.
Speaking of things that are not in the movie, so Sam Jones is this sort of unknown face that they chose, apparently in this very Italian way of like faces are important, like trust your face, so I'm going to cast you in this. And they cast Sam Jones, whose career probably didn't go anywhere after this because it did flop in the U.S. Kurt Russell was initially offered this part, part of Gordon. He dismissed it for being too lightweight in his estimation. And then Dino also considered Arnold Schwarzenegger for this, which would have been crazy. But Dino later cast Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian. So they did get to work together.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what was Kurt Russell's reasoning? What did he say?
He felt it was too lightweight.
Too lightweight. Okay.
Which, the way it's written, he is written as kind of a himbo. So maybe Kurt Russell was like, not enough depth for me. I don't know that I want to play a New York Jets quarterback. These are the lines. This is the dialogue.
I love Kurt Russell. I mean, if Kurt Russell had been in Flash Gordon, it might just rank up there as my favorite film of all time. If that combination had occurred. I think you touch on something too with like the European and the other elements to like like most of the sci-fi we have here, I guess is very like American style or whatever. The violence in Flash Gordon never really feels dangerous or even really violent, but yet violent things are happening. It's the whole thing is very theatrical. And again, I think that's cool. It's like you're seeing a play or like an ancient Greek sort of, you know, comedy or something like that's sort of the way they approach the material. And I think it's a really unique, fresh take that's never been done. Some of the Marvel films, particularly the Thor one you referenced, touch on a little bit of it with the costuming and the way that some of the characters look, but no one has gone completely in this direction. It would be interesting, I guess, if a modern director tries his or her hand at it. I think like I said, I think there's a place where I think people would like it.
Yeah, I think the only like dangerous violence in this film is when the kid puts his arm in the tree and then like that scorpion thing stings him.
Dude, that was really freaky, but again, very theatrical, very dramatic, like the whole thing. And even when they're fighting on that spiked
That platform, yeah.
yeah, the spiked platform, like that's great. It's great, but it's not. I think if it were a Schwarzenegger film or something, it would be they would just
We
be
lose him.
beating the heck out of each other and punching and kicking. It'd be like a wrestling match, you know. This is again, it's more the way they're moving and they're falling and stuff. The whole thing seems more like almost a dance or something. It's the whole thing is more theatrical and more artistic, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's a really weird set piece. And I read a thing about it where it really was like 30 feet off the ground and they kept falling off of it as it tilted and they had to fall onto cardboard boxes. So people were getting kind of mangled in this like tilty, spiky fight
geez.
scene thing, which makes it even better in a way. Like, how great.
Sure.
Timothy
Suffering
Dalton.
for your art, you know.
It
Yeah.
feels very Star Trek, the TV show with Shatner.
Very
Like the original
that.
Star Trek.
A little
There you
bit, a little bit. Yeah.
I guess we should also mention that the movie is also there's some orchestral parts, and that is done by Howard Blake. We should not forget Howard Blake. He also kind of collaborated with Queen to make sure kind of everything flowed. And there's definitely a synergy between the music. Like you never feel like, oh, this is someone totally different that's making music. Like they seem very in sync.
Yeah. Now, I wouldn't have even known that if you had just mentioned it. So it is seamless, a seamless transition, as they say, I guess.
And I guess while Queen got to take their time crafting these soundscapes, they gave Howard Blake like 6 months to like finish all the orchestral parts.
Naturally.
So obviously we know who's wearing the pants and as far as the music goes, musical
Yeah.
direction.
There's another strange tidbit about the movie, though. I'm on, like, there's like a Flash Gordon film Facebook fan group or something that I joined. So the lead actor, Sam Jones, right? Is his name Sam Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They didn't like. Did you guys didn't touch on this? They had to dub the whole his voice throughout the whole movie because they didn't like the sound of his actual voice, and it was like a huge point of contention between the actor and the director. Am I right on this? Did you see something similar about this or no?
You know, maybe the Flash Gordon Facebook group knows more than the internet knows at this point. Maybe they've dug deeper, but there seems to be some discrepancy between in how much of the film is his original voice and how much of the film is dubbed. You know, there are
Okay.
people who say Sam Jones will tell you it's most of the movie. The director will say it's 5% of the movie. Maybe the truth is more in between, but it is abundantly clear that there is some real dubbing fuckery happening.
Yeah.
Because it like his dialogue sounds like crazy in a kind of like in a great way because it really amplifies the camp,
Right.
but definitely dubbed.
Yeah, and from what I read, the actor was obviously very, very upset about this. And also, I mean, the ending of the movie, they completely leave it open to a sequel.
Yeah.
So
the
if
end?
they- if they-
Question mark? The end?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the end, right? So if they were going to do a reboot of sorts, they could do a soft reboot by just doing the long-awaited sequel and just, you know, have them older, maybe. much older. I mean, Timothy Dalton still acts. Barron's still around, right?
That's true.
How wild is it to see Timothy Dalton in this film?
He's amazing. He's amazing. And he was Bond at the time. This was being done, right? Or what? Had he
I think
become
he's
Bond?
right about to become Bond.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah, he brings some real gravitas to this film.
Yeah, he's amazing. And like I said, Ornella Moody's great. And she just adds to the whole foreignness of the whole situation. She's certainly, I've not ever seen her as a leading lady in any other big budget film that got anywhere in America. So that made it interesting as well.
Yeah, we were talking about Dr. Zurkov's accent in this film. Like, I think he's supposed to be Russian, but you can never really tell what his accent is supposed to be.
Yeah, it probably fluctuates depending on the scene.
Unclear. It's unclear.
Yeah.
And funny enough, because he gets his memory wiped at one point, he's like the only person that gets like any sort of backstory.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. If this were a Marvel film, that would be much more significant backstories, probably. He's the only one. Always flashbacks to World War II, and then suddenly he's a fetus, and then
Yeah, that's
apparently he had a wife that passed away at some point.
Yeah. But, I think a lot of the characters sort of represent like archetypes anyway. So I think, again, they're kind of really, whether intentionally or not, it separates it from the hyper heavy, serious sci-fi and superhero stuff that's also going on. These are like your standard sort of Greek mythological characters, just set in outer space. I think if they went too far with a backstory on it or went too far into motivations, I think it would kind of kill the vibe in a way that they've created. But the Zarkov stuff is a really interesting scene. Again, how they like rewind his mind. It's like a tape going backwards. Like that's great. That's great effect. That works still.
And that massive ray gun, I was like, oh, maybe that's where the budget went, because that thing was ginormous and very cool looking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The designs are all awesome.
Yeah, I feel like every set piece, every prop, was bespoke for this film. Like everything was made from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, whoever did that was really, really brilliant. I've always had like a secret wish, because I'm so into the way this movie looks. My birthday falls around Halloween, and I've often done like costume theme parties to do like a Flash Gordon themed one, but the costumes are so elaborate and ornate. You would need total custom jobs all around. Like you can't go to a costume shop and find anything resembling this stuff.
You're just gonna have everyone show up as Flash, because that's the easiest costume to replicate.
So buy a Robin Hood costume, be the Baron, I guess. But most of the costumes would be pretty difficult, I think.
Just a bunch of white T-shirts with Flash on the front.
Yeah, you run the risk of that. And then, of course, have a Queen tribute band play for entertainment.
Oh, awesome!
God, this
yes.
is so. You can make this like a whole ball. I feel like this is a whole concept you could make really
like
happen.
A festival.
And like here in LA, we have this thing called Labyrinth of Jareth, where people basically go in these like very elaborate costume masquerade outfits, and it's all kind of a celebration of the movie Labyrinth and of Bowie.
Yeah.
I feel like this could easily be that. I feel like it's kind of due for its cult classic resurrection.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It is due for it, and I think there are fans out there. For some reason, I think people connected with the movie don't. In this day and age of social media, you see a lot of this retro stuff where the original directors or art directors or whomever, they get involved with the fans and they build it up. Like I don't see that being done with this movie for some reason. I don't know why, because I think that there are fans of it, and I think what you're saying would absolutely work and go over well.
Yeah, and so Queen is such a huge international phenomenon, right? Doesn't Queen, granted, like not tour with Freddie Mercury because he's not with us, but don't they still tour with that guy from American Idol whose name I can never remember?
Adam Lambert.
Adam Lambert, right? So people will pay for that, which I think is wild. I think people would be really into a Queen celebration / Flash Gordon.
I would be there. I'd be there with bells on, as they say. That sounds amazing.
I mean, the 50-year anniversary is coming up in a few years, so maybe they'll do something big for that.
Oh gosh.
Not to make us all feel old.
Yeah,
But
thanks, Ryan.
That's scary.
It's great, Ryan.
sorry.
That's okay.
That's all right.
I believe the costume designer for Flash Gordon, I don't know if he was the main costume designer, but he was also in the wardrobe department for Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So definitely no slouch when it came to costumes.
Wow. And that shows versatility, because I mean, again, the Star Wars stuff is very like almost utilitarianistic looking in a way. Everything has a purpose and a place. Every pocket makes sense. At Indiana Jones, like 1940s Americana, and then this is completely wacko, outlandish, psychedelic space. Like there are three totally different things, and he nails all of them. That guy's very good.
Yeah, very talented.
I know we have a soundtrack podcast, but through this podcast, we've learned that like costume designers are very versatile. Like the person who designed the costumes for Can't Hardly Wait would end up winning an Oscar for doing costume design for Phantom Thread.
Ah, wow.
And those are like two very different movies, in different eras.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Star Wars connection, so Flash Gordon the movie, or the history of Flash Gordon being made into a movie, also has a Star Wars connection. George Lucas really wanted to make this. He really wanted and was a fan of Flash Gordon and wanted to make it a thing. He was going to adapt it in the early 70s, but King Features had already secured the rights for an adaptation with other producers, didn't go through. He knew he was unable to secure the rights. People will tell you that he kind of ultimately wrote his own space opera in Star Wars. So there are elements of Star Wars that the sci-fi fans believe are inspired directly by Flash Gordon. It's an empire, if you look at it, it's sort of similar. There is an evil empire, there is a good blonde guy. So there's some like basic similarities for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with Flash sort of being the first in a way, to a degree, all of these guys are going to take, I'm sure, something from it. It influenced all of them. And that's interesting that he wanted to make that movie. Huh.
But it's cool to think that if he hadn't been turned down, if that hadn't been a roadblock for him, then we wouldn't have Star Wars and we wouldn't have this version of Flash Gordon. So you kind of get, as a fan, two really amazing things out of that twist of fate.
Yeah. That's, well, sometimes things work out, I guess. But I'm sure the people who put the money behind Flash Gordon would have rather George Lucas been the point man on that, I guess.
Right? They were probably like, shit.
Yeah, lost a lot of money.
Not the move.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, it's funny because, Dino De Laurentiis, who is a very successful film producer, for Flash Gordon, seemed to not have a very good grasp on the material. It's, George Lucas wants it. Nah, I don't want George Lucas. Queen wants to do the music. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And those are two decisions that, if he had his he had his way with one for sure, but if he had his way, it would be a much even less successful film.
Right. And this was a guy who was successful in the industry, and you're just pointing out two gigantic errors he made. That's interesting. Some people get many second chances or third chances or fourth chances. That's good for him.
He had a lot of mafia money. Like he sort of there's a lot of rumors, unsubstantiated and unsubstantiated, about like how he sort of made his fortune. So he's like an interesting character in Hollywood lore. There's also some funny stories about how Brian Hodge, the director, would be showing the dailies and they'd be watching them with, like the crew and laughing, right? Because he's like, yes, great. Like, this is the camp I'm going for. And then De Laurentiis would be there like, why do they laugh at Flash Gordon, save of the world? Like, he would just be saying things like, no, this is not, this is not the tone that I thought that we were striking. And so I think that's why when you watch the movie, there's really like that, there's a weird place of tension where you can tell they're trying to be serious on one hand, but it is coming off so camp on another.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the debate is how much of it was intentional. But it works on a few different levels, but certainly doesn't work 100% seriously on any level. I mean, you would have to be, I don't know.
I think you would have got a different screenwriter if you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I think
totally
the screenwriting is, as you said, like an important factor. I'm just curious, Chrstian, if you have like a favorite scene in this film or something that really sticks out to you when you think about it.
So many. I mean, there's so many iconic. I mean, his Flash's battle with Baron on the platform with the spikes.
So great.
When he's about to. One of them is trying to push the other's head down, and he stops like at the last minute. I was like, "Oh my God, he's going to die!" But it didn't happen. That's a great scene, and obviously he's on those like space scooters.
Yes.
And he's attacking Ming with the Hawkmen, and the Queen music's blasting in the background, and their lasers are flying everywhere. That is one of the coolest, most colorful, fun scenes in film history. Like, I love that scene.
Fun. It's so fun. And talk about like just really getting a lot out of both a theme song and a reprise. Like, you love a reprise because it is happening in this film. You will not get that whole Flash thing out of your head for a very long time.
Like I said, it's on par in terms of the anthemic, like Queen, known for these anthemic choruses. We will rock you. We are the champions. Like, Flash is right there. I mean, you can't get that out of your head. It's huge, and it's perfect. Like, tonally, I think it's perfect for what's going on the screen. I think if the movie were too serious and Queen were to do that theme song, it absolutely wouldn't work. But in this case, it goes together like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, and I heard when Queen would break this out live that people would love it. Like,
oh, yeah. Really, really, really cool stuff. I mean, I still have it on DVD. I have like a limited edition version, I guess, where Alex Ross, who's a comic book artist, did like paintings of different scenes from the movie. So it comes like with these really geeky limited edition cards with these panels painted by this comic book artist. So it's pretty cool. So that's my fandom.
Well, speaking of people that love it, Ryan and I were talking before the show about how allegedly, and this is according to Brian Blessed, who plays Voltan in the film, and he's kind of, I think, a character known for telling tall tales. So take it with a grain of salt. But Brian Blessed claims that this was the Queen's favorite movie. That this was Queen Elizabeth's like favorite movie, and that she would watch it.
The Queen's favorite movie.
The Queen, that she would watch it with her kids and grandchildren at Christmas. That is his claim.
Wow, this is I've done a few interviews for this album. And this interview, I've definitely learned the most, I have to say.
Ryan and I went deep. We were like, Flash Gordon's the shit. We got to know everything about this movie.
Yeah, this movie is so fun to dig into. De Laurentiis would later, his production company would do like the Evil Dead movies with Sam Raimi, and I feel there's some of that horror in this movie. Yeah. Where, you got the eyes and like tongue popping out. And
that's great. That's another one. That's a scene I can't get out of my head. Clytus, when Clytus's death.
Yeah, Clytus's death. I was like, man, this is kind of like Army of Darkness in space.
It is, and you said that, Ryan, and it made so much sense. That scene with the eyes and the tongue popping out when it happened, I'm like on my couch, like clapping like a seal. I'm like, it's amazing. Right.
But I want to know what Dino De Laurentiis's reaction was to the telepathy scene where he keeps on saying over at the end of every sentence.
Oh my God,
Like,
that's my favorite one. I think that's the part that I'm going to keep thinking about long past this conversation is that telepathy scene on the ship where he's trying to tune in to his like Earth girlfriend Dale,
Dale. Yeah.
and like accidentally saying stuff like, "Oh, this she's really turning me on." Like, way to fuck up
not about you. Gotta go.
until you got no. Gotta hang up this telepathy element now. Sorry.
Over.
That's Aura.
The best. Like the best. But also
Yeah.
like fair, man. Like I get it.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised that Ming could tell that wasn't Dale in his room when he uncovers the slave. And he was like, it's you. And I was just like, oh, I didn't think you would notice.
They all kind of look the same when you put them in like a lot of those whatever weird harem, space harem outfits. It's all very
Yeah. And Flash Gordon gets a little sexy. I mean, it's definitely there's definitely more sexuality in it than Star Wars. Wouldn't you say?
I
In
would
terms of-
say.
Yeah, like the costumes, some of the scenes. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, like for certain. So it's
For
definitely another way in which it kind of separates itself.
Yeah, you don't have an aura who's in love with everybody.
When I read about this though, or about the original comics, and I can't confirm or deny this, comic fans probably can, but I guess a lot of the original panels are kind of like a lot of scantily clad women. And so there are people who will say, like, yeah, I had like my sexual awakening because of the Flash Gordon comics. Because they're kind of like risque. At least
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of like another character. I don't know if you're familiar with Conan the Barbarian.
Of course.
So it's like fantasy for, prepubescent to teenage boys. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely elements of it. Now, how far you push, you push the throttle on this stuff, I guess it varies a little bit, but it's definitely present in all of that stuff, and definitely in those earlier comic books where there was no sort of censorship or parental regulations.
Right.
They would push the envelope as far as they could.
Right. We talk about this a lot on the show, I feel like, because it comes up in particular with 80s, fantasy and sci-fi, where there's kind of this lack of like regulatory body. There isn't this Disneyfication of everything where it's like highly sanitized, where if you made a movie like this today, it would be way dialed back. So there's something that's like refreshing and cool about watching that and about experiencing movies like this, especially as a kid, because they feel a little bit forbidden. And I feel like, not to go all kids these days, but I feel like that's something that is very singular to that time period and to movies from that time period.
Yeah, I think that's true for art in general. I mean, and even in music, I've spoken about this in a few interviews where I feel like, particularly for modern top 40 modern pop music, everything is so pre-planned and so safe and so corporatized, and it's tested, whereas previous stuff, you'd have, a group of whomever would get together, they'd write songs, and some of them would be hits and some of them wouldn't, but it would always be coming from the soul of sort of the artist. Whereas today it's like our corporate project artist has to have a number one song. What can we do to get him or her on the top of the charts, And it just seems so phony and so contrived. And with my stuff, I'm trying to keep it a little bit mysterious, keep a little bit of danger without, sounding cliche, but there's nothing wrong with there being a little bit of sexuality with a male frontman, like the world needs Mick Jaggers and Jim Morrisons. You don't have to act like a creep or a scumbag, but there's nothing wrong with having lyrics or moving in a certain way on stage. That's a bit sexual. And I think particularly with male performers, modern male performers, that's been lost. And a lot of that is because I guess it doesn't test well with certain audiences. So they're so afraid. Whereas back in the day, it's like, okay, the Doors have a hit song. Now we have to deal with the fact that there's this guy in leather pants who's going to be on TV tonight, and
Right.
that was kind of cool. And that's sort of what you're getting with Flash Gordon, like sort of whatever's coming out, whatever ideas are popping out of their heads, that's what you're seeing on screen. There's a group of corporate shills sitting there being like, oh, we got to cut this. This doesn't test well with this audience. There isn't that going on. And I think it's definitely reflective in the art. Unfortunately.
I think that's perfectly said.
Thank you.
Yeah, bring back Prince and the Assless Chaps.
Absolutely. And there's a great quote from Oscar Wilde where he talks about like the difference between, I think it was art and the artist thinking of their audience is like once an artist begins to create art thinking of their audience, they cease to be an artist and start to be an advertiser or something. I'm not getting it correct, but the thought is the same on the concept. And that's all you're getting now is basically advertising. You're not getting enough art. So yeah, give me the brilliant Prince song that has the off the wall bizarro lyrics with sexual innuendos and a bridge that changes key and changes time signature. Like give me that 100 times over than what we're hearing today. I'll take it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and with this reboot, hopefully they keep that same adventurous spirit in the film.
Yes, please do. And if you're listening, I'm here to write the soundtrack. I'm here for you. Don't worry.
The Ritualists will drop everything, postpone their next album to work on Flash Gordon.
That's it. And then we'll play it at Cruel World.
There you go.
There we tie everything together. Perfect.
Whole arc for you.
Well, thank you so much, Chrstian, for being on our podcast.
Well, thank you, Ryan and Nicole. This was a great time and a lot of fun and something I have never done before. So, in terms of talking about this movie, so this was a pleasure.
Wow. I would have thought that you did this weekly. You're very good in your knowledge about Flash Gordon.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I'm
we
so
had a
glad
great time talking to you.
Got you to watch it.
It was a privilege. The best part of doing the show sometimes is experiencing pieces of art and culture that are blind spots that you haven't gotten to. And this was, a joy. So great.
Yeah, somehow I was familiar with the soundtrack, even though I'd never seen the movie.
That tells you all you need to know, right? How powerful the soundtrack was. But I'm glad you guys watched the movie, and I'm glad you liked it.
It was quite the roller coaster of like expectations because we didn't have any expectations. So, we're texting each other back like, oh my gosh, like, did you see this? Did you catch that?
That's the best way to do it. Just walk in cold. That's great.
It was great. But the Ritualists' new album came out in April. Too Pure to Cure.
Yes.
Fine. You can get it in a physical copy, which we would recommend because who knows when things disappear from streaming.
Yeah, and you guys, please send me your address. I'll send you a copy of the vinyl.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, love to get it to you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll be in touch. But yeah, new album's out. It is great. You should listen to it. We will put your website so people can keep track of when you guys are touring and stuff in the show notes for the episode. And thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you. Great job on the album. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, you too.
Enjoy.
Cheers.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.